One of the most exciting things that we're creating for the Mandalorian is a new spaceship. And John had a really distinct idea of what he wanted. He wanted an army surplus vehicle, a vehicle that perhaps predates the X-Wings.
The Mandalorian Season 2 introduced us to the Razor Crest, a pre-Empire military surplus gunship. But with the ship being unseen until 5 years after Endor, we have to ask, where did it come from, and why have we not seen any like it before if it really did come from the prequel era or even before it? Today we are taking a look at the Mandalorian and examining the history of Star Wars' newest iconic ship.
Razor Crest? I can't believe that thing can fly.
When the Razor Crest was first introduced in Season 1, many people immediately drew comparisons between it and the Republic Gunship, or LAAT, most commonly seen in Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars animated series, and Revenge of the Sith. This seemed like a reasonable conclusion to make given the placement of the engine turbines and the cockpit, as well as the lower hangar bay beneath those engine turbines. This led many to believe that the Razor Crest was actually a modified Republic gunship, and with good reason. The two bear many similarities with one another, and the knowledge of the Star Wars universe suggests that this is absolutely something that could happen, with several ships being modified and transformed over their lifetime. However, there is some information to suggest that that actually may not be what the Razor Crest is. And especially with the new information coming from Season 2, as well as some other ancillary materials surrounding The Mandalorian, I wanted to take a deeper look at the Razor Crest and see if there was any validity to the idea that it was a modified Republic gunship, or even a Kashyyyk Gunship, as some other people have been suggesting. The first thing to suggest that it might not be an LAAT is the height of the cockpit relative to the engines. It is so different, in fact, to the Republic gunship that in order to modify a Republic gunship to the point where it resembled the Razor Crest, you would have to change virtually everything that made it similar to the Razor Crest in the first place. First is the cockpit being too high relative to the engines, as well as the engines being too far away from the body of the ship. Still, it wouldn't be totally ridiculous. Imagine if we had only seen one A-Wing in the original trilogy. Some might come to the conclusion that it was a modified V-Wing, and that would be a perfectly reasonable conclusion since we wouldn't have any information about the A-Wing being its own totally unique model that simply came after the V-Wing. Like the A-Wing and the V-Wing, the Razor Crest and the Republic gunship bear much in common. After all, they were both gunships by design. Furthermore, behind the scenes, they were both designed by Doug Chiang at ILM, meaning that they had an intrinsically similar design and character put into them from behind the scenes. Beyond that, we have some information to suggest that the Razor Crest was not modified at all, at least not in any significant way that would make it unrecognizable from its original form. In fact, the Razor Crest doesn't even seem to be the name of the ship at all. Going through the information in order, the first evidence we see comes from Chapter 1 of The Mandalorian, where the Razor Crest is immediately recognized by the Mythrol.
I like your ship. Razor Crest, am I right? She's classic. Pre-Empire?
He also references it being a pre-Empire ship. While the Mandalorian doesn't say anything, this does at least confirm that the Razor Crest is recognizable, and immediately recognizable, as being pre-Empire military surplus. The second piece of information comes from Chapter 6, where we find out that the Razor Crest, being pre-Empire, can hide its signature and has no transponder.
We have much better ships. Why are we using this one?
And it is said in that episode that this is a signature trait of all ships from the pre-Empire era and was not specific to the Razor Crest by itself, or even a modification that Mando put into the ship, but rather something that would have been universal to ships of that era. Similar to how cars built before a certain time didn't have electric smog checks, or even from a further time back didn't even have seatbelts. Now, we didn't get much information on the Razor Crest for almost a year, with the next bit of information coming from Star Wars Squadrons, of all places. Star Wars Squadrons released a cosmetic drop last month, which include a Razor Crest hanging flare. All of the cosmetics in Star Wars Squadrons have a little lore tab and give some sort of in-universe explanation for what that thing is and what the people of that universe might know about it at that given year, which would be about 1 year or less than a year after the Battle of Endor, which would be about 4 years before The Mandalorian. The tag for the Razor Crest was incredibly surprising, as I expected it to reference the legends of Mandalorian bounty hunters who are hunting down post-imperial fugitives from justice, but what we got was completely unexpected, saying, quote, "Both Imperial and New Republic pilots are wary of these pre-Empire gunships, as their outdated design makes them more unpredictable." So the key here was that Razor Crest was referred to in the plural, implying that Razor Crest was not the name of the specific ship, like the Millennium Falcon, but rather the name of the ship model. I thought this may have been simply Motive taking creative license, and I had kind of written it off, but I had tucked it away to the back of my mind, and when we got to Chapter 2 of The Mandalorian, I realized that this was not a mistake made by Motive or even creative license on their part, but they were actually given insider information to something that would be revealed in The Mandalorian itself, as early as Chapter 10.
Razor Crest, M111. Come in, Razor Crest. Do you copy?
In The Mandalorian Chapter 10, Din Djarin is hunted by a pair of New Republic X-Wings, and before the chase begins, the three of them communicate via comms, wherein the New Republic recognizes that this is a Razor Crest, even without it having a transponder. They tell him that they see it's a Razor Crest, which is a pre-Empire ship, and he justifies it saying Razor Crests did not have transponders because they were pre-Empire ships. None of it implied that they knew it was the specific Razor Crest owned and flown by Din Djarin, simply that they knew it was a ship of a specific model that they had already known and recognized, having no idea or even speculation as to who was on board until he sent a ping to those X-Wings.
We ran the tabs on the Razor Crest.
All of this seems to confirm that not only is the Razor Crest not a specific ship that has been retrofitted from a design that we had already seen during the Clone Wars era, but also that the Razor Crests are a actual model of ship that were mass-produced, and the Razor Crest was not the name of Mandalorian ship specifically, but the name of the entire ship line.
What say you fix that transponder, and we don't vaporize that antique the next time we patrol the rim?
With everyone who sees it recognizing it as a Razor Crest, even if they don't know who Din Djarin is.
Razor Crest, this is Travis Flight Control. Please reduce your speed to port protocol.
Aside from the in-universe lore explanation, there is also some out-of-universe behind-the-scenes information regarding the creative process that went into designing the Razor Crest. In various online webisode specials, Doug Chiang talks about his process in designing the Razor Crest and talking about it being inspired by the A-10 Warthog.
One of John's favorite aircrafts is the A-10 Warthog, and I really like that aircraft because it's very distinct with these two giant engines on the rear end. And so we took that as the starting guideline, and the idea was that this was going to be a very early spaceship, and so we wanted to lean towards sort of World War II aesthetics.
From a behind-the-scenes perspective, the ship was entirely new in design and wasn't intended to be a retrofitted model of an existing ship, but was intended to look like them only in so much that it made the ship look like it fit within the universe. And again, the similarities we can point between the Republic Gunship and the gunship of the Razor Crest are primarily because they were designed by the same person. A person who often had the same thoughts and processes and sources of inspiration whenever he would create a new design. Doug Chiang always cites Ralph McQuarrie as a major source of inspiration, as well as various World War II fighter jets and things of the like, so it makes a lot of sense that, citing the same things for reference here, he would create something that looked similar to something he created in 2002. Furthermore, the distinct diamond shape on the door of the Razor Crest cockpit is incredibly reminiscent of the signature Mandalorian diamond, very heavy and prevalent in both Mandalorian armor and architecture as well as art. This symbol is something that we have been taught to associate exclusively with the Mandalorian people, which leads me to believe that this military surplus vehicle is not from the military of the Grand Army of the Republic, but rather the Mandalorian military. Despite being a completely new ship and not really being a retrofitted model of something we've seen already, I actually think this adds to the Razor Crest value, expanding the universe a little bit more and showing us the variety of things that existed in Star Wars behind the scenes that we never even get to see, because the Star Wars universe is that big, that vast, and there is so much that we have still yet to explore. But I want to know what you guys think about the Razor Crests being a completely new model of ship, completely unrelated to the Republic Gunship and the Kashyyyk Gunship. Do you think this is a good idea, or do you wish that this was a retrofitted model of something we've seen already? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, because as always, I want to know what you, my friends, have to say about our favorite galaxy far, far away. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, may the lore be with you, now and forever.